Happy Sunday, guys, and welcome to the Too Goddamn Hot APAT show. I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's hot here, damn hot. We have a special guest with us tonight, Lee. Do explain. We haven't had one of those in ages.
No, exactly. It's friend of the show, Paul Haycock. Doesn't really take any more explanation than that, really, does he?
Simple as that.
How are we?
Well, we're good. How are you? More to the point, how are you? You're looking a bit peaky. No, actually, you look very well, Paul.
I'm a lot better than I was earlier in the week. That's fair to say.
You've been having a bit of an adventurous last week and a half since Euro 21. We're going to come on to all of that. Lee, perhaps before we do, what tourneys are the guys playing for, and any sort of hot news on top of the leaderboard?
Yeah, so it's the usual Sunday night. So we've got 4 tournaments on the go. Well, I say on the go. The Sunday Deep Stack has already completed at 5 o'clock. That had 62 runners. João Paulo Trindade from Brazil scooped that one. The main No Limit Holder main event started at 7 o'clock. That's got 93 runners in that. We are down to 9 in that at the moment, so well into the money. Top 15 are getting paid. There's $726 up top for that one tonight. PLO main event started at 8 o'clock. That got 33 runners, so only $10 shy of the $1,000 guarantee in that. A certain Mr. Brian Yates is chip leader in that one, paying top 6, and there's currently 10 remaining in that one. And finally, started at 9 o'clock, now into level 12, 66 runners in the Sunday Turbo Knockout. Obviously we smash the guarantee in that every week as we normal. Top of the leaderboard, well, it's a couple of regular APAT faces at the top at the moment. Pete Wigglesworth leads Gordon MacArthur by just about 5 points. Di Farrell is there in 4th place as well. Brendan Byrne in 9th, Tony Ross in 10th, Igor's in there in 12th, Rob Green's in 13th. So plenty of names looking to vie for a top 20 place, and we will obviously put all the results in for the end of the last 4 events for the week, and we will find out who tops that leaderboard in probably about an hour and a half's time, I reckon.
Fantastic. Love it. Well, listen, we've just gone to the final 9 in the main event, so let's just pop that up so we can have that in the background as we talk to our first guest in what feels like ages. How have you been, Paul? Let's go back a bit, right? Before your adventurous last week and a half. How's the last couple of months been for you? How have you found the summer? And should I be talking about the end of lockdown? I mean, tomorrow's Freedom Day. It's tomorrow, isn't it?
It's the end of this lockdown. I've been okay. I've been busy. I've been playing hardly any poker at all. I haven't played online poker since the APAT Worlds. I've had a couple of live cash games at the Rico with certain Mr. Tom Bacon. He was involved in that. Apart from that, lots of work and lots of looking forward to the Euros, and then watching the Euros on the telly, and then going to the Euros, which we'll come on to in a bit, I'm sure.
And then going and getting all of what the Euros had to offer. You got everything that was on offer. Well, that sounds like. Yeah. I mean, that does sound like, the last few months, obviously a little bit different because we're still in this weird place. But business as usual. Oh, sounds like a fairly business as usual type period. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good.
No, we've been. I mean, in general, we've been very lucky. We've been much less badly affected by COVID and lockdown and all of that. Done a lot of people. I can still work from home, and my wife's a teacher, and she's been busy all the way through. Not always in college, although she's been in college recently as well. The boys have been okay, so no, can't complain really.
Fantastic. So off you went to Euro. Is it Euro 20? Is it Euro 21? Euro 20, I think. Euro 2020. And
2020.
You somehow went from being at the semi. I don't know if you were at an earlier.
This goes. Yeah, all right. Let's
tell us the story. How did you get the tickets and everything?
So this goes back. The story starts 2 years ago, right? So I
for
2 years ago.
us.
So no doubt. I entered the ballot for tickets. I got an email saying, "Unlucky, you've got no ticket." Thought that was it. And there's a bit at the end. You probably saw the email yourself, and it says, but the thing is that people have to buy the tickets. You have to pay for them like a year in advance of the of the tournament. So for the people who don't pay, they become available again. So keep an eye out for your emails. I thought, yeah, okay, fair enough. So a couple of weeks later, I got an email saying, click this link now, there's some tickets become available. And I thought that it'd be like a group game in Baku or something. and it gave me the option of the semi-final and the final, both at Wembley. So I got 2 tickets for each of them. This is in August 2019. Then, of course, the tournament gets put back a year, which was a bit of a pain. And it looked like, I started at the beginning of this year, I was in 2 minds as to whether it was going to happen at all. But yeah, obviously it did, and this could have been any 2 games, but I got the semi-final and the final. That didn't know what teams I'd be seeing, obviously, and turns out it was England in both, which was incredible. So the game that I was the most nervous about, it wasn't the Germany game, it wasn't either of the games that I went to. It was the game against Ukraine, not because Ukraine were particularly good, but because that made the difference between me either seeing England in a major tournament semi-final at Wembley or going to London to watch Denmark against Ukraine, which, no disrespect to either of those 2 countries, but that's not what you want, is it? So, when we beat Ukraine, I was over the moon.
Yeah, as it transpires, of course, that was a great England performance against Ukraine. They sort of really lit the nation up. Everybody really starts to believe that, in fact, maybe it was on the cards. The draw looked, reasonable. Everything seemed to align.
Again, yeah.
But we didn't get quite the sort of fairy tale ending that I think a lot of people had wanted. Even a few people outside of England, not many, it has to be said, but a few outside of England wanted that fairy tale ending. What, just from a football perspective, what do you think went wrong, at the final, particularly because it did appear a different England?
I think what went wrong is that we went 1-0 up after 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it just became about what we hold. It was like part of the bus for like 120 minutes, as it turned out to be. Yeah, we just decided, you can't criticise Southgate too much, I don't think. He's done really well to get us there. We've got to a World Cup semi and now a Euros final, so it's hard to sort of pile in on him. But I don't think we were ever going to shut Italy out for 90 or 120 minutes. So if we'd carried on, in the way that we started the game, I know obviously it was a very early goal, but you might as well lose 6-4 as kind of sit back. But I mean, it nearly worked, right? He sat back and we took it to penalties, and then it's a bit of a.
He didn't do it deliberately, though, did he?
50-50.
Well, you don't think he did that deliberately? That's a mindset within the players, isn't it? You start to think, hold, and you start to get pushed back. It's also a mindset within the Italian players, right? Suddenly you've got to chase the game. That wasn't Southgate on the.
Firstly, take nothing away from Italy because they were superb, and it's only
they were good. Yeah,
we were very lucky with the tickets. I was in row 6 on the front row for the final, and it's only when you get that close up to that quality of play. Bear in mind that I watch Warsaw every week, right? So this is so far and above, higher standard than what I'm used to. And you see
sounds like you were like spitting distance from the pitch. I mean,
we were basically playing left wing. Honestly,
row 6 or row 7 or something. It's amazing.
We were row 6 and the first 3 were cordoned off. So we were so close to the likes of Insigne and Chiesa, and when you're that close, you just realise that they're so quick and so skillful, and their control is so good. It's incredible. So firstly, take nothing away from Italy because let's face it, they probably deserve to win. They were probably the better team on the night and in the whole of the tournament. But I do think it was a bit of both. I think, the players maybe, being a little bit apprehensive, but also, Southgate's obviously, made sure that they don't file forward too much, especially out wide. We're always picking up the ball and looking backwards again and trying to keep the ball and not really penetrating that much in the final third. So that was a bit of a shame. So like I say, I mean, it nearly worked. We were a penalty shootout away from it working, and no one would be here criticising him for it now if we had, right?
You're right. Do you think does the fact that the AC2 plus extra time or whatever, actually England came much more back into it in extra time later on in the game after Italy equalised. But do you think are England going to go forward into the remaining World Cup qualies and the World Cup, touch wood? Are they going to go forward sort of thinking of that last 80 minutes against Italy where, in fact, perhaps they were put in their place a little? Or do you think do they go forward thinking of the prior, parts of the tourney where, in fact, they looked pretty comfortable in the majority of their games?
And no, I think the fortunate thing is that it's such a young squad. You know, if this was another, you know, sort of so-called golden generation, or this might be our last chance, then yeah, we'd be all be a bit downbeat about it. Whereas now, so many of the squad are, you know, early to mid-20s, you know, and you got Saka at 19 and all the rest of them. I think they, you know, they can use this as experience and learning curve and all the rest of it, and take it into future tournaments, which are going to be no easier, of course. And obviously, World Cup will be harder with Brazil and Argentina involved and all of them. But yeah, there's no reason we can't go into them with some optimism, I don't think.
Quite right. That's the beautiful thing, right? It's only a year and a half away. We don't have to wait 2 years for the next World Cup. How cool is that? So
Winter World Cup, yeah.
Yeah, that would be fantastic, I think. So we have a couple of people in the chat box already. Fook the Pop Drinker, right? He'll fit right in well at APAT. Says good evening. And naturally, Flomo says good morning. So these gents could be anywhere in the world. Good to hear from you guys. Hope you're well. But listen, the glory of supporting England wasn't all you came away from the Euros with. Now, you didn't lose your watch or anything, which, you know, Lando did, a Formula One driver. You got the COVID. I mean, there were only 65,000 people there. There was 140,000 at the Grand Prix today. How did you get the COVID?
Who could have seen that coming, right?
It feels a bit that way.
See, when you're in the ground, so this is the way the theory goes, at least. But when you're even through the perimeter checks, everyone inside there has got a COVID pass, which means they're either double jabbed, or they've had a negative lateral flow test 48 hours before the game. And that's great once you're through the perimeter check. Right? But everywhere out, so even if that's true, right, and even if everyone you know, plays ball and does what they're supposed to do to get through the checks and everything, even then, I mean, outside the stadium, there's so many more than the 60,000 people that are going in there. You know, I can show you the videos of everyone singing and dancing outside. And it's a fantastic atmosphere. It was all lovely and positive, and you know, there was no trouble, you know, before either of the games, certainly, either for the semi or the final. But there's also not a huge amount of social distancing or mask wearing or really paying any attention to any of that. So yeah, I probably went into it. Firstly, I've been waiting for this thing for 2 years, right? Secondly, you know, I had the negative test, and I've been double jabbed, and you know, probably a bit complacent about all of that. And yeah, came back. So I went to the semi-final. Came back. So that was on the Wednesday. Yeah, absolutely fine, no problem. Got up the morning of the final, and I'm about to get in the car. I'm about to put my bag in the boot, and my mate Stu, who I was going to the final with, and he's going with two mates. One of them rang me and said, "You're not going to believe this." He says, "I've tested positive." Misses the game. I said, firstly, why on earth have you done a test the morning of like England's first major tournament final of our lifetimes? And he said, well, yeah, I know what you think. He said, to be honest, I had symptoms yesterday. He felt rough all of Saturday, and he was just hoping it was going to be like a cold or a bug or whatever. Did a test on the Sunday morning. I didn't have any symptoms at all whatsoever. So I drove down, went to the game, get back from the game on night, do a test just on the off chance, and I'm positive, and then have symptoms from Tuesday. So the two out of the three of us got it. The third one somehow managed to avoid it and still has now. But that happened. Yeah.
Wow. I reckon he sold a ticket for
I will
$3,000.
be coughing every now and again. I will be coughing every now and again for dramatic effect, by the way, just so you.
To be honest, we're going to clip that and use that as promotion for our Wednesday COVID show.
Nice.
Following the COVID numbers this week. Lee, over to you. What's the latest?
Yeah.
To be honest, Lee, I'm going to pitch this one over to you. I mean, it's a bit of a scary tale from Paul. He's had both jabs, pretty sensible, albeit when you get down to semi-finals and finals of Euros, you've got hundreds, thousands of people that you're walking by in one shape or other on those days. Ultimately, it's going to find a weakness if there's a weakness there in the vaccine. We seem to be heading into a bit of a scary old time again. I mean, we're going to pass the post-peak, are we not, in the next week or two? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I must admit, the message from Paul on Tuesday morning was one of the more scary ones that I've received in the past year, simply from the fact that you kind of go, but you're double jabbed. how can you possibly be getting it? And that's not being naive. That's just simply kind of, you have this thought of, well, that doesn't make sense. Then you're all supposed to have tested before you went to. And yes, okay, 60,000 at Wembley, blah blah blah. Yeah, but still, it should be the chance that, my first thought was, oh, you're really unlucky then, mate, because you're going to be one of like, the 5% that have got it, and then you find out that actually, no, it would appear most people that went to Wembley have now tested positive, and that's scary. That's really scary.
And whilst on the one hand, it's a bit annoying to have had things. I felt pretty awful Tuesday, Wednesday. So I had, apart from breathing difficulties, which I've never had, I basically had all the symptoms. I've had headache, loss of taste and smell, and sort of all over body aches and fever and all the rest of it. That was Tuesday, Wednesday. But firstly, that went out of the way pretty quickly. That lasted probably about 36 hours. Secondly, the symptoms that put you in hospital, I've not had at all. So at no point have I felt like, Christ, I'm in danger of anything here. So I don't think it's right to say that like the vaccines aren't working just because I've shown symptoms. Because for all I know, the vaccines could be keeping me out of hospital right now. So
exactly. No, I think the vaccines are doing exactly what the vaccines are supposed to do. I think maybe it's a slight naivety on my part, or maybe the general public's part, in that the assumption is that if you've had the double jab, you're down to like a 5% chance of getting COVID. But actually, what it is, it's reducing the severity that you will get it. That's what it's actually doing. And as I say, that's probably just naivety on my part and the way the media portray it all. That's what it is.
Well, with that in mind, given the level of opening that's happening from tomorrow, it is tomorrow, isn't it? Is tomorrow Freedom Day?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So, given the level of reopening that's happening from that, obviously with the sort of underscoring of, but by the way, you should ideally wear your mask in certain circumstances. People aren't going to do that. I think on the whole, given all of that, it does suggest that somebody somewhere is sort of saying, well, we just need to get on with it now. And I sort of tuned myself to that now. So a lot of people are going to get it. We accept that. But actually the percentage of people who get it badly enough to go to hospital or worse, that's going to be way lower than it might otherwise have been. But let's crack on now. Let's get the old herd immunity. Let's, just go out there, and enough people need to get it to share it round so that we can actually start to forget about it. That's the strategy now, is it not?
The word strategy is used, and doing some heavy lifting there. But I get it. I mean, people are thoroughly sick of it, and yes, we've got to open the restrictions up at some point. I think there's still half the country, if you include kids in there as well, that haven't been double vaccinated. So there's going to be not only cases but hospital admissions and probably deaths that spiking again. And if that's the
well, I think it's fair to say,
prepared to pay, then we've all got to live with that, haven't we, or some of us.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that that's the strategy, as opposed to the government sort of saying, well, now that everybody's double vaxxed, very few people are going to get it. So crack on because of that. I think it's more a case of we accept that quite a few more people are going to get it, but, c'est la vie, should be okay. We'll see. Toddly ho to some of you, of course, but most of you will be fine. And, hopefully by the time the World Cup comes around, we'll all be good. Albeit the rest of Europe, and indeed the rest of the world, seem to be quite pissed off with us at the moment that we're doing this. We're getting quite a lot of negativity, are we not?
Yeah, and not just politically, but science from the scientific community as well. And they're probably the ones to listen to, right?
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? I mean, if you'd read or pay attention to all of our media over the last 6 months, you'd have thought we were at the forefront of the vaccine rollout and everybody else is doing rubbish. And if that was the case, why are we now seeing what we're seeing and other countries aren't? So it's understanding what other countries are doing differently, and is that working better than what we're doing? We can sometimes get in a bubble here, can't we? And not really kind of be properly looking to see what's going on. But what I don't understand is the number of countries that at the moment aren't really welcoming UK visitors. We've obviously got our lists of green, amber, and red for travel, as vague as most of that really is. But yeah, it's understanding, well, where can you travel at the moment? It's okay, you can book a flight, but are they going to let you in the other end? I'm not even sure what the States situation is at the moment, because I saw an article saying Biden was continuing with not allowing European visitors in, but then I know people that have flown over and are there. So,
and there's a few countries now that have changed their policies in response to ours. So I think Malta was the first one that did it. We put Malta on our green list, so they immediately put us on their red list. And Bulgaria have now done the same as well. They're like, you might want to come here, but we don't bloody want you.
And France are considering doing the same by all accounts. So I mean, if we were on the French red list, I mean that's pretty close to home. Listen, there are a couple other comments coming through the old chat box. The one and only Bromley, Natalie, is out there and says, "Why has Haycock come dressed as Where's Wally?" It's a good question. That seems like a good follow-on to COVID.
Wow. She knows I'm ill, and she's going to come and jump up and down on my chest while I've got COVID.
Listen, she has said, and yes, that is my only contribution right now. So I hope we get more, because this show thrives on abuse from the watching audience. The lovely Polly 1787, who is in fact Mark Shepstone, right? Not lovely at all. Polly sounds much nicer. Evening all, hope everyone is okay. We had a right old time of it with COVID this week in school. I've been at home because I went ping, along with 130 others. So what about the pingdemic? This is, of course, where people sort of are getting pinged from the NHS app or the Test and Trace app, and they're having to self-isolate for 10 days, whatever it is, unless in fact you're the PM. And whoever else it was that tried for about 12 hours to get out of it, and then they thought,
that is pretty much the quickest U-turn of all time.
It was impressive.
2 hours, not 12.
It literally was a 3-point turn. It was as good as that.
Can we get away with this or not? Oh no, turns out we can't. Let's
I think what they did was
2 hours later
they put the message out. Right, that they weren't in fact going to self-isolate because of this new test, whatever. And then they went straight onto Twitter, saw the early response and thought, right, let's draft something new. Not going to get away with that. So how are you feeling now, Paul? You're on your way back. You're
no, I'm okay. I've now got a bit of a cough and a bit of a headache. I can handle that. That's okay. Like I say, I've got over it, pretty quickly, and that's probably the vaccines at work again. So no complaints really. I think I had my first ever 12-hour sleep Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So that kind of helped. I was wiped out.
That's good.
Wiped out for a couple of days, but
yeah, you need a bit of that.
I'm good.
And how's Mrs. H and the little H's? Everybody?
Okay? This is isolation within isolation. So I've been in 2 rooms in my house since I got back from Wembley. There's the study which I'm in here, and then I'm sleeping in the spare room and just trying to keep away from them as much as possible. But they're already. So the worst thing about it so far. My wife had to miss a few things. She was supposed to be off because obviously she's finished teaching for a little while. She was supposed to be doing jury service, so she had like a 1 week gap where she was going to do some things which didn't happen. And then the worst one was my youngest, who plays football, had a really, really good season this season. Worked really hard. Their end of season presentation was last night, which unfortunately he had to miss because we obviously all have to self-isolate. So they set up a Zoom link for it in the end, so it kind of worked. But it would have been better to have been there in person. And he did his best to pretend he wasn't disappointed when I had to tell him, bless him.
Am I right?
Really, but,
that would be little Arlo, right?
Arlo, yeah. He's my 10-year-old. Yeah, he's had a decent season, and he deserved to have the well done that they all had. But they brought the trace around, dropped it off, afterwards, and that. So we sort of got involved, but it would have been better to have been there in person.
Oh yeah, it's a shocker. The kids have missed out so much over the last year and a half. They were going to have a hell of a story to tell their own kids in years to come. Let's hope at that time, people, their own kids are going to say, "What, really? That happened?" In the way we talk about the wars and stuff. Who knows? And of course, the summer sport is bringing the Olympics. I think we're getting kick off in the Olympics this week. When does the whole thing? When is the opening ceremony? Is that this
I know
week?
all the pull-out guides were in the papers this weekend, so it must be pretty close. I've totally lost track of it. I've no idea what's happening when.
I think there are like football games and baseball
Yeah,
games starting on Wednesday.
There's football games starting this
Is
week,
that
definitely.
before the
Yeah, I think some of it
okay.
starts. Some of it starts before the opening ceremony. I'm assuming the opening ceremony will be on like a Friday or something, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have we got a GB team in the football?
No, you've got a women's team in there.
Women's team, but not men's.
Yeah.
Not immense, which is disappointing. There are only 16 countries in there, 4 groups of 4. I assume they're going to go to a last 8. A real shame there isn't a British team in there, but there isn't the women's.
But could you imagine though? I don't even know how you would have got a team together.
It'd
The
be like
Euros would have finished. It just would have been insane.
There'd be Warsaw players in it. It'd be a League 1 and 2 team.
But to be honest, a League 1 and 2 team could do really well. It could be a great experience for young players to
I'll tell you what's really good. Last night I was looking at an article that the BBC Sport had done about where pre-season games where everyone's playing, and what I thought was fantastic is if you went down all the Premier League sides this year, pretty much all of them are just playing games in this country, so that which is great because it helps to to bring some money back in and do whatever, unless it's all behind closed doors. I hope it isn't, but it just made a nice change that they're not jetting off to the Far East or to the States to play a Champions Cup tournament or whatever it is for the money over there. Really nice to see them go into some of the lower league grounds and getting their practice in there.
Like ours, we played Crystal Palace yesterday. We got Villa Wednesday, West Brom the following Tuesday. I think
it's perfect. That's great for the club. That is great for the club. But listen, just to finish off on the whole COVID thing and with the Olympics in mind, the Japanese do not want this Olympics by all accounts for obvious reasons. We have heard of a case within the Olympic Village of a competitor or perhaps an organizer coming away with COVID, and now we've had COVID on a plane that had some British competitors on it, and I think 6 have had to go into isolation. I mean, is this Olympics, is it going to get away? Is this going to be days and days of, certain athletes are going to miss their events because they've got pinged or they've got COVID? Going to be a bit of a disaster, isn't it?
I think so. It'll be that Olympics where if you win a medal and somebody's been pinged or had to isolate, it's going to be like, which is it's a shame for the athlete. It's a shame for the athletes, really, because that's not what you want. Yeah. But it does kind of have that feel that when the Japanese public started saying that we don't really want this at the moment, I think then they should have taken a view and gone, right, do we just not have an Olympics? Do we treat this like it would be if it had been during one of the world wars where there wasn't an Olympics for that one? It just misses.
No, listen,
cycle,
I think that was the opportunity for Boris to show leadership, right? We're going to go in, we're going to give you 100 million to move the Olympics to Streatham High Street, right? We're going to be running up and down Streatham High Street. Honestly, nobody would notice that it was going on, and we'd have an Olympics. It could be gold medals and everything. People running up and down there with all sorts. Well, we'll have to wait and see, guys. I hope it happens with some degree of credibility. We will see. So, Lee, how are we doing in the poker, sir?
Well, we're down to 4 in this No Limit Hold'em main event. Not really any names left there that I recognise, but the 5 remaining in the PLO, Des, if you wanted to switch over and bring that up. We've just lost Brendan Byrne in 6th, so he's min cashed. But we've got Dave Amos, Richard King, and Brian Yates on that table there with 5 to go. So it's probably worth bringing that up and keeping it. So obviously, Paul, you're self-isolating, doing the right thing. So yeah, what did you make of the kind of the nonsense this morning with our Prime Minister and Chancellor saying, well, yeah, we've been pinged, but it's okay. We're running a pilot test scheme, so it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a deliberate setup to make myself unpopular on Twitch, isn't it? I do that enough. I've already stopped posting on Facebook because it always degenerates into this. Look, I'm not a fan I think Johnson's approach to COVID is very similar to Lord Farquaad in Shrek. You know, the thing where he says, you know, so some of you will die, but that is a risk I'm prepared to take. Yeah, you know, one rule for one for the others. All the rest of it, all the cliches that sound like you're trying to score political points, but are actually just true because he's criminally negligent and incompetent and corrupt. There you go. That's my view. You did that.
This has got to be my test for the clip thing, Lee. If you remember from our earlier meetings, I've just gone offline with the table for just a moment. I need to quickly test something. Oh, that's classic. How the hell do I do this?
Really,
keep talking amongst yourselves.
that's where we've got to. Des has got some new toys on the studio software, and he's trying to get working. So yeah, so we're 4 left in the No Limit Hold'em. So we're 5 on the PLO, and we're down to 16 runners in the Turbo tonight. I bust the tourney I was playing on a different site with a horrible runner for a flush, ace queen versus tens, and hit my ace on the flop, and then he went runner for a spade flush, which is unfortunate, but not a lot you can
be in the jar, mate.
It's not even one of those, is it? It's not even a 50p, is it? I don't think. Not really these days. So what do you think about live poker opening up? Have you? I know you said you haven't played much, played a little bit of cash game. And what was the cash experience like playing?
Yeah, that was same as between lockdown 1 and lockdown 2. So yeah, they had the Perspex screens up. Everyone wearing a mask. Well, not everyone wearing a mask this time, actually. A bit of a mixture of people wearing masks and not. The dealer button is still a bottle of sanitizer, which is a nice touch. But yeah, it's brilliant. So they're doing tournaments. They've started doing tournaments as well at the Rico self-dealt, low stakes tournaments. And they have a couple of 1-1 cash games going, which normally wouldn't get me that excited. Playing live Hold'em cash isn't my favourite variant anyway, let alone for 1-1. But you know, that's what's on offer as a live poker product at the moment. So I've gone and done a little bit of that, but even that's a couple of months back now.
And obviously, there are some bigger tournaments that have taken place. So the Hippodrome have put one on, and we're creeping ever closer to the World Series. And I see the World Series Europe have announced their schedule out in the Czech Republic. So
and there's a GUKPT happening right now. Of course, at the Vic. Plan A was to qualify for that and get down there, but obviously I'm glad I didn't bother trying now because I wouldn't have been able to.
Do we know? So do we know what the setup is? Do we know what they've done?
Yeah, and it all changes tomorrow as well. So up until today, like literally for the next hour and a half, it's as I just described. It's Perspex screens. It's 7-handed. It's watch the chips every break and whatever. And then as of tomorrow, it's as if nothing had happened. It goes to 9-handed.
Do what they like. Yeah.
Goes to 9-handed tomorrow. All bets are off. Not all bets off. All restrictions are lifted, and that's the way it works.
And what both of your gut feeling? Do you think this is going to be a case of we'll get through July and August, maybe a bit of September, and then they'll look to do some sort of lockdown again, or do you think actually this is just going to be it now? It's just going to be get on with it.
We keep going until the hospitals are full, don't we? I think that's the only conclusion one comes. I mean, in a couple of weeks' time, you might as well count the people that haven't got it than the people that have. But it's how much, it's to what extent can the vaccines keep people out of hospital? And if majority have it the same way you've had it, Paul, which is going to be a week of inconvenience. But the talk is that from the middle of August, that if you've been double jabbed and you were in your situation, you wouldn't even need to self-isolate. Hadn't heard that one, but yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense. And everyone ignore it. I mean, there must be a sort of trigger point beyond which the number of people getting pinged by the app will just ignore it. I mean, they're talking about like 5 million theoretically needing to self-isolate within a couple of weeks of the restrictions being lifted, and people just won't. They just, if you get a thing on the app saying, "Oh yeah, someone that we're not going to tell you who or where you picked it up, but you need to self-isolate for 10 days now."
Yeah, it does feel like
people aren't going to do that.
It does feel like an exercise whereby responsibility is being sort of pushed to the people. So we're going to go with Freedom Day. We recommend you still wear your masks, and we recommend you respect the test and trace and all of that sort of good stuff. But we sort of know you won't. We're just not going to say that, but we're going to pass it over to you, and let's see what happens, because frankly, we need to kick on. It does feel a bit like that, doesn't it? And
well, whatever makes it sound like your own fault.
Hey?
Yeah.
Well, whatever makes it sound like your own fault. Yeah. I had to smell one of the on the front of one of the papers. It was talking about, we trust the British people to use their common sense, and they'll be sensible about it even when the restrictions are lifted. And on the back page of the same paper, the guy with the flare up his ass outside Wembley. Right, there you go. There's British common sense for you.
Bloody nightmare.
Trust us, lad.
Right, we're going to ruin some people's days here. We might do if they're not looking for spoilers on the old Grand Prix. Did you gents see the Grand Prix today?
Did not see the Grand Prix. I watched some of the Open instead of the Grand Prix.
No, but I know what happened though, because I read the report. So I didn't watch it, but I read the reports.
It's exciting. It felt a bit era defining, really. There was some aggressive driving.
So I guess that the first thing to say is it was the first Grand Prix where they tried this new sprint style qualifying the day before, didn't they? So that was in there to start with. So you had that kind of thing, which the jury's out at the moment as to whether it made it more exciting. I don't know, but
even before that, Lee, obviously that then led to qualifying for that taking place on a Friday evening, and that seemed to be a great success, because Friday evening just feels like a really good time to watch a relatively short Formula One session. That seemed to be a success. Agree. I don't think anybody was too sure going into the sprint session as to whether it would become processional or aggressive. There was only sort of points on offer to the top three. It wasn't a particularly exciting race, it had to be said, but the majority of Formula One races are not particularly exciting also, it has to be said. But we did get a seriously interesting race today. Where you had the young protagonist, Verstappen, and Hamilton going for a record 8th title, get it on the first lap, and it was pretty exciting to view. And a lot of the language post the British Grand Prix today, with both camps pointing the finger at each other, seems to suggest that this could get a bit personal, and that could actually lead to some seriously interesting racing for the rest of the season. It was good. I must admit, though, golf-wise, I haven't seen any of the golf. We must have a winner. Who took it in the end? Oosthuizen? Or?
It was a guy called Colin Morikawa.
Really?
Who is setting golf on fire at the moment. So he it was his first Open. He won that. It's his second major. I think he's 23, 24 or something. Wow. He's an American guy of I think Japanese descent, and he's just absolutely nerveless. It was pretty much a three-way shootout on the last day between him, Louis Oosthuizen, and Jordan Spieth, and Oosthuizen kind of blew it, and Spieth had a chance just going into the last few holes, but no, Morikawa was brilliant. Clearly, I've had a bit of time on my hands, so I've watched quite a lot of the of the Open initially from my sick bed, and then earlier on in it. So it was good. It's depends whether you like watching golf, I guess. But,
I do. I must admit, I do like watching golf.
I watched the majors, and I absolutely love the Ryder Cup. I'm obsessed with the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
I absolutely must watch all of the Ryder Cup every couple of years. It's I think that's an amazing sporting spectacle. That's super.
Fantastic.
But I usually watch the majors as well. Sometimes put a couple of quid on.
Yeah, well, many people say the Ryder Cup is very, very similar to the APAT team competition in Blackpool.
I mean, it's not a patch on the APAT world, as you know, but
I think that's where they got the idea for the Ryder Cup, from the Blackpool APAT team event.
At least the Ryder Cup happens.
Well, I think you're holding the record now for the longest ever
I've been
England live, live captain.
longest England captaincy in APAT history. Haven't played an event yet, but
Come on, Lee.
Longest.
Come on, Lee. What the hell's going on? When is APAT coming back? What the hell is going on?
Well, I had a message from Tom Brady earlier on today.
Tom's the man. Tom's the man.
And Tom's starting to work out what he's going to do with the pub poker and getting those, because obviously the pubs are all opening up full, as normal tomorrow. And and we're gonna get together at some point in the next couple of weeks, maybe, and just have a catch up and work things out. But we're still interesting. We always say we take our, we use Rob Young at DTD as a bit of a sounding board as to what's going on and what's happening. And I saw him put out this week saying, don't think we're rushing into this, guys.
Calm down, lads.
Just all step back a bit here. We're not, just because things are opening up doesn't mean I'm just flinging the doors open at dusk till dawn and we're going to start playing some poker. So he doesn't seem in any rush at the moment to be doing anything. And although, yes, we're seeing Grosvenor opening and there's a GUKPT, I think for the low end at the moment, it's a tough ask to get dealers in to run a weekend festival at the kind of price point we're at the moment. And I think that'll just take a little bit longer to get the confidence back with the venues and the players, really.
I think you flash forward 2 months, 3 months maybe, and I think Rob will be seen to have been very much ahead of the game here. I think the other casinos have welcomed people back, but I think if these numbers are going to peak in general life, of course that's going to find its way into the casinos and what have you. And I think above all else, and we've had a few discussions with Rob on this, going back to mid last year, Lee, I think Rob just doesn't want a room full of people at DTD to end up getting COVID, which, is pretty admirable, really.
It's the right, it's completely the right thing. And Dusk Till Dawn is slightly different to any other casino in that they can give you a little bit more social distancing to play a lot of the other pit games and the slots and all the whatever else they've got at the casino. Dusk Till Dawn really is poker. That's it. And it's a tough one to do, but I'm sure Rob will make.
And in terms of the APAT Worlds, you want to leave it a little while because the Italians at the moment will be giving it all this one night. So we need to leave a few months for them to calm down a little bit.
That will be a key factor in the discussion as to when it gets scheduled. Absolutely. We don't want Luca and the boys coming over and just giving it that. That wouldn't be right.
What's interesting?
15 minutes after the final penalty went in, Luca sent me a photo on Facebook of him in his Italian shirt, giving it all. But I was like, too soon, mate, too soon.
But I mean, it was interesting because actually, obviously, you get into the thing of it's England, and I don't know whether you realised, but it was 55 years since England had been in a last major final.
55 years.
I remember it well. Yeah.
What about the golden generation, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, you might not have heard that stat mentioned, in the past couple of weeks. I picked that one up and thought I'd share it. Share it.
It doesn't scan very well in the song, does it? 55 years.
But the point I was going to make was, and obviously everyone focused on, well, that's England and what they've done. But of course, there's plenty of teams out there that don't win these things very often.
But England's a big
country.
What have they ever won?
I mean, Italy have only won the European Championships once.
Oh, they've won a few World Cups, though. In fauress, one should not exclude those two.
Okay, so take the Dutch. They won the Euros in '88, but before but that's the only thing they've
It's pretty recent though.
Won. That's, it's 30 plus years.
Hey, we had color TV back then. Come on.
Yeah, I thought you were just setting up a massive whale self-buck, to be honest.
No. It's a case of it as always is the way is, and as you said, Paul, when it comes to obviously the Euros every 4 years, when you throw the World Cup in, you're then looking at an Argentina and a Brazil as well that are in the mix, which makes it even tougher to win that one. Yeah, I sometimes think England get too defeatist about the fact that it doesn't. To go from where England were to a World Cup semi-final and then a Euros final, and have the squad, which I think are more than capable of getting the last 4 again in the upcoming World Cup. I think that squad is. There's nobody. There's probably, Des and I talked about this. Maybe Kyle Walker's about the only one that in another 18 months, 2 years, but that's even at a push. He's
another one. It was really great to see close up, because he's just so quick, and his anticipation of the game is so on it. I was really impressed with Kyle Walker the whole tournament, especially the games I went to.
I think this team can only get better, both from an experience point of view, but also from a technical point of view themselves. I think they'll get better. They're a very, very young squad. Wouldn't surprise me if Kyle Walker is absolutely still there, right in the mix of it in a year and a half's time. I think you've got other players to come in, and I'm going to include within that bunch one Phil Foden, because I don't think we saw anywhere near what Phil Foden is capable of in that last tournament. He got a run out in the first game. We didn't see a lot of him thereafter, but I think he makes it into an England first 11 when he's consistently shown the sort of form that he has shown at Man City, and I think he does that more often after another season of Premier League.
I genuinely think that in 18 months' time, so obviously the World Cup is November, isn't it? 22 so there's going to be a break, isn't there, of the but for that. It'll be back to a squad of 23, we assume. That will be back to the norm. That is a tough squad to pick in 18 months' time. You're going to have the likes of a Ben White, who soon sounds like he's heading to Arsenal for 50 million. So we'll have 18 months of playing, whether open to debate whether Arsenal's any better team than Brighton. But the point is there's the potential for playing in bigger games there for him, and everybody else in that squad is going to develop. And those that weren't even in there, Trent wasn't even in that squad. This time round, Mason Greenwood pulled out, and he was on the fringes. I mean, I think he'd have ended up playing probably about as much as the likes of Cody and White and Bellingham did, but in reality.
I think that's the one area that I think you just got a few questions over. The number 9 spot, right? So if Kane is there and fully fit, and to be honest, he's a fairly fit guy. He does take his knocks reasonably well. But the thing is, if he got injured, there isn't an obvious equally strong candidate to wear the number 9. And if you end up with a false 9 or a Pep style approach to get a Foden in there or whatever, then you've got to play a slightly different sort of game. So that would be my
think it would suit. I honestly think not playing Kane would suit England's style much better.
It might do, but
much better. I mean, but he's never not. He's never not going to do it. But ultimately, it would suit England's style with a much more fluid front line, far better than having Kane.
I would actually tend to agree with that. But in saying that, Calvert-Lewin, I think it's a reasonable alternative if he has another good Premier League season. But if he falls off... But do
you mean replacing him with Calvert-Lewin, or do you mean not playing a striker at all?
Well, that's the option, isn't it?
Because that's not unprecedented either, right? So that's the Pep sort of false 9 thing.
That's the Pep thing.
Put Sterling in there, and then put Sancho and Foden either side of him, or Saka. Or
you could absolutely do that. But I think the minute Southgate made Kane as captain, it just makes it impossible to tactically not include Kane. Be mad to take him out at the moment, but you're right. That could be a really interesting solution. The point is, between now and then, Southgate has to he's got to unlock a plan B, because it didn't really seem, from an offensive point of view, that he had a plan B. Defensively, he did. But offensively, if Kane is injured, I think it suddenly becomes far trickier for England to succeed. So there we go, guys. 52. So we're going to be on break here in 3 minutes. We have been joined by the lovely...
I was just going to say, the poker's just got good. We are heads up. It is the Chocolate King, Richard King, against the Capital Boy, Brian Yates. So
the Black Country King, I think we can say.
So they're heads up with a fairly even stack size in this PLO game. Obviously, Paul is a PLO expert, so we'll be able to call this heads up beautifully. in how he thinks that
do
both players are going to play it. But as
Yeah,
Des quite rightly says,
it'd
we've only got 3 minutes and they will be on a break. So
It'd
But
be even
just-
easier if I could see the screen. Yeah, it's a little bit small, but I'll do my best. I did see David
not
Owen
well.
bust with he ran single suited jacks into aces, and that was the end of David, which was a shame. But
Listen,
yeah,
guys,
these two are pretty deep. This could be a fairly long drawn out heads up battle.
Richard's just posted in the chat to Brian saying, I'm pretty awful at heads up Omaha.
of course you are, says
You
Brian.
got to work on these tells, mate.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, when Paul mentions not being able to see the screen clearly at sort of 11 p.m., we should mention that Stu has joined us. Stu Ward, Fat Cat Stu, is in the chat. How are you, buddy? Hope you're having a good evening. Lee and I had our catch
Stu
up
can
with
normally
Phoebe.
Stu can normally not see the screen, but it's nothing to do with
That's
the technology.
Midday.
Has he cool story broed me yet? He'll be looking to get his own back from the world.
Yes, I'm sure he will at some point. Yeah, we had a really good meeting with chat with Phoebe earlier on today. Stu's twitching friend.
Twitching friend. It almost sounds like he stabbed her.
Twitching friend. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Talking about people like Stu makes me think again about how much I'm looking forward to seeing everybody again and getting into a live event again, because it's like people that like well enough to be like really pleased to see them, but not so well that you're in touch all the time and all that kind of thing. So yeah.
No, but that's actually a really good point.
And you're laughing in my face.
But it's a really good point. Actually, it is exactly that, isn't it? It's people that you're good friends with, and you would call friends definitely, and you see during APAT events, and that's kind of enough of a, you see what's going on and you catch up with what they're doing, all that kind of thing. When you haven't got that, it's very difficult. And although you might message a few of them, and obviously during the Worlds we had a group chat for when people were coming on the show, and that was of course, and that ended, and everybody went, well, what are we going to do now?
I've always thought of going away to an APAT event as a form of escapism, right? So what you leave behind is your day to day and your work and all of that good stuff. And for the weekend, it's a different place. It's a different bunch of friends, a different activity set for your day. And that's what it is, basically. And when you get back to normal, you don't necessarily see or think of the group on a daily basis, but it's always nice to get back to it. I must admit, I'm really looking forward to some normality coming back as well.
And in all seriousness, the reality is, and we keep saying this on the show, is we're looking at 2022. I think, in all seriousness, for events with possibly the ability, we might try and get something on towards the end of the year, which would very much be a standalone social catch up reunion. Raise a Corona for Jer, whatever, all of the above, kind of reason to get together, and the poker would very much just be a sideshow to everybody catching up and having that chance to, as you say, Paul, just to catch up what everyone's doing and has been doing over the past 18 months. And we got so many new people as well. That's the thing. So many new people have been playing APAT lockdown games since last March that I've never even met. That I feel like I know because they've either been on the show or they've been in the chat box on every Sunday night, or they've been involved in whichever leagues we've been playing, and the people that are genuinely going, well, I've never been to an APAT live event yet, and they're all going to be forming an orderly queue wherever it is we decide to.
Sounds like it's going to be round Tom's house.
Yeah, the click fest are back. I told you.
Bring those click fests back. Listen, talking about new stuff, right? New schedule. Lee and I did a thing. We did a thing on Twitch last week, Lee, on this very channel. We did a thing.
We very much did a thing. Yes.
Shall I show the guys, the gals, a teaser? Should we do that, just in case you haven't seen it? I have no idea if this works, but let me try. We showcase the playing style. Oh, that didn't work, did it? Let's try this way. Let's try it. Maybe that's all of it we need. Maybe that's the thing.
Did it beat a host as well?
Oh yeah, that's the one. There we go. Let's try that. We showcase the playing style of well-known players here, and boy, we've got a treat for you tonight. Total live earnings $1.14 million, and you're telling me people still think you're in it?
Absolutely, yeah. Even though the 5 isn't a great card for us, it shouldn't be for him either. Okay, now we're not necessarily good here. I would certainly put a large amount into Patrick for sure. I mean, Patrick is an absolute beast. I mean, this is definitely the worst moment of my career. I'm now having to make a mental calculation. Are the 2 Bitcoins worth the absolute humiliation of people recognizing what the best thing I am?
Season. I feel like this could be a season-topping total that we're currently on the table. I think it's worth going for. What do you think, Lee?
Well, he's just lost a little bit in the hand, so he's going to need to make these Bitcoins.
He's going to have to go for it. He's going to have to go for it.
It's going to be stinging, yeah.
Okay,
listen, we're here to support you through this, Dara, right? We're going to clap either way.
Okay, I guess we're going for it then. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one.
No, you can't read it, Dara. Come on now, sing it. No, come on, everybody. Dara O'Kearney.
Very good.
I had a call with Paddy Power himself a short while ago. I said, what odds on O'Kearney to top the Seat Wide Open leaderboard at the end of tonight? Paddy offered me 10-1. He knows more about Dara's game than I do, but I know that this is the pilot episode of Seat Wide Open. There's nobody else on the leaderboard. I took that 10-1 and I stuck £2 on it. £2, Lee. Well, listen, Dara, I'm gonna slightly pull us out of the poker world for just a minute. But before I do that, we're live on Twitch at the moment. You do have a fan out there. Somebody says, love Dara tearing it up here. So your 60 seconds, my friend, will start now.
Where does that put him on the leaderboard? Well, he's off. Got to be happy. 192. That is going to be. I genuinely think that is a tough score to beat.
There you have it, guys. I mean, Dara O'Kearney, one of the busiest guys in poker, and yet he found a couple of hours to spend with us this evening, which we're very, very grateful for. Oh, there we go. We had a bit of fun with that, did we not? I had to laugh. I showed Lee the teaser, and he said, "Oh, we could just call this the Des Duffy show." I giggled, yeah. But we'll cut back on me. I think a little the next time.
So the concept, Paul,
nice show, isn't it?
Yeah. Here's an interesting one for you. So basically, it's a 2-hour show. So we get pros on, and they basically play 100 minutes of cash. So they share their table with us, and one table, and they can play whichever level they want to, and they earn points based on how many big blinds they're up or down after the 100 minutes. We then also throw in some extra segments where they can earn some extra points
by singing,
by singing and whatnot as they go.
We try to make them uncomfortable.
So of course the question it would be, now you're a bit of a cash player, so in 100 minutes, I mean, are you looking to double your money, triple your money, what do you feel you could do in 100 minutes?
Well, when I did this live on the telly in the Sky Poker days, and when they had something sort of relatively similar, up until the penultimate hand, I was 250 bigs up, and I think I was second on the leaderboard behind Channing. And it all went in my final hand, and I lost a lot in the absolute final hand, and ended up on minus 100 bigs. So I may not be the the ideal person to ask.
Oh dear.
But surely, if they're interested in getting on the leaderboard, they're playing on micro stakes, right? Although is there a personal pride aspect that comes into it where someone like Dara Kearney won't play like 1 cent, 2 cents?
No, Dara chose to play fairly low, but because he said that's where he normally will play. He's not much of a cash game player, so he explains that on the show. And so he played on Unibet 2 cent, 4 cent, was it, Des? I think it was.
The quality was really good,
but the quality was insane. It was like he wasn't just like, it wasn't just a case of I'm shoving my stacks in here and we're playing for stacks. It was a grind for 100 minutes. It really was. He ran really well, but I don't think he really put a foot wrong in 100 minutes of poker. It was very impressive.
He got his tripled up stack or his doubled up stack at one point in just once in the 100 minutes on a misclick.
We were like, what's going on? It was a misclick.
And he said it in his lovely sort of Irish way. He sort of said, well, I didn't really mean to do that. I just sort of happened. And we went, shit, we weren't even looking at the hand. You put it all in. But yeah, it was a laugh. It was lovely to have him on. He was a really nice guy. And of course, that's the variable here. We are distracting them quite a lot with either just general talk, which we do, or these mad little segments just to make them a little bit uncomfortable, to get to know them better is the term we use.
But even so, it's nice to know that absolute wizards like him can still misclick like the rest of us.
Hell yeah, absolutely.
His David Bowie story is just it's worth tuning in for that alone. It was
okay. You've hooked me. You've hooked me in. I'll go and have a look.
It's a great
even if you've read the story, because he put the story on his blog a little while back. So even if you read it on that, him telling the story is just takes it to a whole nother level. Yeah, really, really, really good.
Yeah, he also talked about the challenge of bringing up a family in Ireland where his son was severely autistically affected, and just some of the challenges and decisions that he had to go through there. And it was touching stuff. I mean, he was very, very open. It was a fantastic, it wasn't a poker interview. We talked a lot about poker, but ultimately it didn't feel like a poker program at the end of it. It was nice. He got to learn, I think, quite a lot about him, which was, really, really cool. Now, whether we get the same out of Phil Hellmuth.
Well, who knows? Yeah, I was about to say. So, if anyone's watching, and has either seen Seat Wide Open or just from that clip there, who would you like to see on the show? Playing 100 minutes of cash to get on the leaderboard whilst trying to talk to me and Mr. Duffy for.
It seems every time I go online, there's one of my friends talking to a massively famous poker pro recently, like Bromley talking to Negreanu, and just casually kind of flicking out these interviews with like the world famous poker player.
Oh.
Yeah, we've done very well lining up people for the Orbit and the Orbit Extra, and every time we do an Orbit Extra with Natalie, we do I message her and go, "Are you free next Thursday?" And she said, "Well, I've got a lot on," and then I throw in who the guests are going to be, and she's like, "Well, I can't say no to that, can I? Really?"
That's gone. Like, I'm in.
Yeah,
but she's brilliant at it, though. I mean, that's why she's doing them. She's absolutely fabulous. She's a natural.
So Richard King's taken a bit of a chip lead here over Brian. I mean, the blinds they're currently playing 8,000, 16,000, Paul. So they're sat on 40, 50 plus bigs each. I mean, with Omaha, there's no reason to. You're not playing for stacks at any point here yet, are you? Where would you say with pot limit in a tournament, does it get to a point where you kind of feel like your stacks are going to be committed when you're in a hand? Because at 40 and 50 bigs, you can get through a hand without even getting close to
for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of play left there, and 30 bigs plus there's plenty of play, whether it's heads up or full ring. It's only when you get down to it's only less than 20, and they return that you're thinking about getting it in or not, unless you're on a board like this, because so normally this is a terrifying board for anything other than the nuts in full ring in PLO, but heads up, clearly you have to acknowledge the fact that you're only up against one opponent, and suddenly you can get cooler boards like this that's going to knock somebody out. So that's not the case on this occasion, although Brian has lost a few in that one.
Cool. Yeah, it's I suppose, yeah. So, I mean, what Brian's got to do here now is cautious with the next couple of hands, because, as you say, once he starts dropping below that 20 bigs, then it does start getting a precarious position for him against Richard, who claims he doesn't know how to play, Omaha heads up. So,
in which case you would normally take from that he's going to be sort of fairly ABC, and if he's got it, he'll stick around. If he doesn't, then he won't. So, Brian can use that to his advantage, unless. I don't know Richard, so maybe he's the kind of person that will now know the way that Brian's thinking about that now that he's made that comment. Maybe it's all a little bit cleverer than we think. But
well,
if not, then...
Richard's been a very consistent player in our Sunday night No Limit Hold'em game.
Okay.
For a long while now. Just seems to always be about on a Sunday night, running deep in tournaments. So must be nice if you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Brian will hopefully know how Richard got to this final. Is it through pure run good, or has he been mixing it up a little bit as well? And if he's still after, then I'm probably betting a lot of Brick Rivers.
Mm. We're three-handed in the No Limit Hold'em, so I'll keep an eye on that for you guys as well. Just to Albert Sillem from the Netherlands is chip leader in that, with Matthias de Mulder from Belgium in second, and Robin Hipper in third.
Here we go.
Is that going to be it? That is going to be that, is it?
That is it.
That is it. Just 2 kings, that's 3 for Richard.
That was pretty. That was actually just 2 pretty monster.
That was once Brian got down, we saw him lose a couple of chunky ones, and he got down relatively short, but still, there's maybe a little bit of impatience crept in, maybe, but it's shame for Brian, but another deep run, as he tends to do, because he's a good PLR player as Brian.
Yeah, so just as I was saying, we were three-handed in the No Limit Hold'em. We're going to go heads up because Robin Hipper's ace 4 is going to get. Actually, he was left with what 0.1 of a big blind, so that's gone in now. So I thought actually he didn't quite have him covered.
Combat this with the not dominated hand and no help.
And that'll be that. So we're now heads up in that. We're down to 6 in the turbo knockout. So as I predicted, Des, I said hour and a half. I reckon it would take maximum. So
it's a nice
be there
time.
Or thereabouts.
Yeah, it's a nice time for this show. I have to say, an hour and a half feels about right. A bit of good news. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Lee, but we've just confirmed our next guest for Seat Wide Open. Literally in the last 5 minutes.
I did see the message ping through, yes.
It's ping through. So I think I can say, given that it looks like the dates are set, that the next guest on that will be one Jesse Silva, who was a runner-up in the World Series of Poker main event a couple of years back. That's all I can say at the moment. And I think we're sorting out the date. It'll be this week, and it'll be live. So we'll definitely be advertising that in advance, unlike the first one, which we did rather nervously, trying to keep it all together. In fact, I think we made the decision about 3 minutes before we went live to do it live.
Yeah, we just decided, just hell with it. Let's do it. I mean, to be fair, my lines in the script were only about 3 or 4 lines. I mean, Des had the majority of the script, so it was fine.
It was exactly 60-40 in terms of Lee's favor, the content. It's just I made the teaser, so I switched it around.
Something like that.
There you go. The main event final table is playing 2 cent, 4 cent. Let's go.
The beauty of it is that obviously you can play whatever they can play whatever level they want on whatever site they want. But if you want to top it, I guess it's I'm not sure whether the micro levels is the way to go with it.
Yeah,
or whether something like 51 is a better level to play. I'm not sure I'd want to play too high up. You're probably looking at average pots rather than actual stakes, aren't you? Because you don't want a nitty table, whatever you join. So and of course, you are unfortunate if you do join just a really nitty table. That is the unfortunate thing. There's not. But you
know that before you join, right? So I think table selection is king.
Probably good. But to be honest, I mean, where you finish on the leaderboard, if you're a poker player, of course you're competitive, but that's only one part of this, right? The main part is like you're sharing your playing style and you're talking people through some hands, and that's really educational and interesting. You're doing the other stuff, which frankly, it's just it's a little bit unusual, really. Some will go for that, some will not. But I did send a message to Rob Young after we did the first one, and I said, you gotta take part in this. So he said, yeah, anytime. So I reckon, what do you think, Lee? 5K, 10K, no limit?
Got to be, isn't it? Yeah.
Shall we do it?
Yeah.
Shall we do it?
While singing Sweet Caroline.
yeah. But I mean, but the difficulty is, of course, is you've got to play a level where also we look, we record this, it goes out live sort of 8 o'clock UK time, because of course you need to be playing where you're going to get a full table. Because actually, if you don't, there's no point being somewhere. I mean, when Dara sat down, his first couple of hands, I think it was literally 3 of them at the table, and I was thinking, well, this could be awkward because he's gonna. But the table filled up, and to be fair, there wasn't a spare seat for very long in the entire 100 minutes. But yeah, you need to be making sure that you are going to get action, and there's going to be people. And of course, most of the sites these days, it's all automatic seating and everything, isn't it? I think with a lot of them now. You don't even have you don't have much of an option. It's a case of you want to play some cash, and they will seat you at a cash table.
Hit a banner these days. You don't get to choose your table as much. Should be cool. And if there's anybody out there who would like to play on their channel, so Twitch Poker, and obviously APAT was advertised through that show, which we think is pretty good because there's a lot of subscribers out there, followers. There's about 6,000 followers on that channel, and it's growing quite quickly. So it should drive some new people, new interest, new awareness for APAT, which is really, really good. But if there's anybody out there who would like to stream on the channel in front of that audience, get involved in one of the shows or whatever, just let Lee or I know. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, the turbo's just gone heads up as well, so I'm typing as quick as I can the exits so we can find out who is going to be top of the leaderboard for the week.
Did you have either of you guys had a look at GB News at all? GB News.
You were. It was a quiz question on Friday night.
Was it really?
So
I asked. Was the question how many viewers did they have?
I asked the question which channel had 0 viewers for a number of its shows this week due to
nailed it
due to viewer.
Yeah. There are more people on this show than watched GBBs the other night.
You say that with some degree of surprise.
Couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people.
Well, it's really odd, isn't it? I mean, it's been an absolute disaster. I like news shows, so I've tuned in on a couple of occasions, and it's been an absolute disaster technically, but from a content point of view, we said from week one, Des, how do you get that technically so wrong? I just don't understand. You're putting something like that out there. They've got backing. They know everybody knows what it is they want to do. So they've got. It's not like they've just gone, oh well, this would be a bit of a passion project, a bit of fun. No, they've gone there with an intention. They've set it up with an intention, with people backing them. How do you get it so badly wrong when you do almost impossible? Yeah. I would say. I know when we launched the Sky Poker channel, which you've both been on, we had 6 weeks of rehearsals, as live before a show was ever put out live. Everybody knew exactly how the shows run, how the technology works, their marks, the running order, all of that stuff. It became second nature before the shows were ever put live. I just got a sense that somebody hit a button there on a Tuesday and sort of said, right, lads, tonight's the night, away we go. And it has been horrific.
And it's not just technically either, though, is it? They put themselves forward as defenders of free speech, and then sack a guy for taking a knee and say that it was against their journalistic standards and all that. So, well, you can't have it both ways, can you?
Yeah. No.
And now the answer apparently is Farage. Farage is going on it, and if Farage is the answer, then Christ knows what the question is.
Yeah, it's very, very true. Yeah.
Something to do with cryptocurrency, I'm sure.
Maybe.
And Andrew Neil sort of disappeared for the last 2 odd weeks. He went away on holidays. The whole thing continued to explode.
I don't know if this is going to happen, but the idea was mooted that he would present it from his home, which of course is in France. So GB News presented from
F4 News
from Chateau.
So to quickly become FO News.
Yeah, it already is.
Oh well. Sometimes it's entertaining just to watch as these things implode. I mean, I don't wish bad luck on anyone. Well, maybe not anyone, but it has been entertaining. It was entertaining watching CNN for many, many months, despite all of the bad news. because of Trump, right? So he wasn't directly impacting my day, but I felt my day was worse off for not having a little tune in to see what he was up to. And I do miss him now. I really do. I'm sure I wouldn't feel the same if he was operating this side of the pond, but I do miss him. Hopefully he'll be back at some point. There was a wonderful documentary on, I saw it on YouTube. I can't think of the organization that put it together, but it was pieced together, the whole Capitol sort of incursion. It was pieced together from many, many different angles, many, many different cameras. And it's like this 20, 25-minute piece identifying the ringleaders from the various sort of, military groups or paramilitary groups, whatever you want to call them. And, just identifying them in the crowd, whipping up a frenzy, and then sort of it just goes into the detail of how they got in and where they got in and all of that stuff. An incredible piece of journalism, I have to say.
Did you see his, we were talking about the Open early on, did you see his official press statement about the Open yesterday? So he puts out this statement, because he can't tweet anymore, obviously, so he puts out this statement on, letter-headed, 45th President of the United States, and he starts off with, I'm watching the Open Championship, previously known as the British Open. Wrong, bad start. And he said, it's great, and watching the players is great, but I don't know why they're playing it such a substandard tournament when they should clearly be playing it at my course up at Turnberry, which is far superior. But good luck to everyone that's playing. It's just a shame they played it at such a bad course compared to mine. But even now, we can't get away from you massive baby.
In fairness to him, Paul, I mean, he does have a great course in Scotland. He has the greatest course ever in the world of golf in Scotland. It's a great course, Paul. Great. See, we miss him.
Yeah, I miss him too.
Oh, we've lost another one, Lee. We've lost another one.
We've not just lost another one. We have a winner in the no. Matthias de Mulder from Belgium. Has taken down the win there, picking up $726. Albert Sillem from the Netherlands finished in second for $468, and we saw Robin Hipper from Finland finishing third for $322. But the Turbo was also concluded as well for the night. So I'm pretty much, I think I can run through everything that we've had going on tonight. So we started off at 5 o'clock tonight with the Sunday Deep Stack. João Paulo Trindade from Brazil picked up the win there. Lee Hickson from the UK was in second place. As I just mentioned, Matthias de Mulder picks up the win in the No Limit Hold'em. Richard King bested Brian Yates heads up in PLO with John Fillack from Canada in third. And finally, Oliver Cox from the UK won the Turbo, beating Philip Muller from Malta with Ray Chan from Canada in third. That means all of those four results didn't affect the top two positions in the leaderboard. Pete Wigglesworth beats Gordon MacArthur by those 5 points. Neither of them added any points to their scores tonight. So they are the top two. Brendan Byrne had a cash tonight that snuck him up into fourth place. So he picks up a couple of tickets, which means Di Farrell misses out in sixth on the double tickets, but she still picks up a single one at step 5. So nothing wrong with that at all. We've got Tony Ross, who's on step 3 at the moment. He picks up a ticket as well. Igor Asimov as well. He's on step 4, so he picks up a ticket. Mark Shepstone, who was up at step 5 a few weeks ago, if you remember, Des. He's in the chat earlier on. Finished in 22nd this week. So he's just missed out, unfortunately. But we'll update the leaderboard and make sure everybody gets the tickets for this week, as we're sneaking around to another championship weekend at the end of the month. So that's going to be upon us before we know. But it all starts again tomorrow night.
Sure does happen quickly.
Another week's worth of leaderboard ladders. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Lee. Big thank you to Paul, of course, for joining us tonight. My friend, I hope you're feeling better in the next couple of days.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you live, hopefully not too far away, but as Lee said, it looks like 2022 seems most likely. And thanks, everybody, for playing this week. good luck next week. Lee and I will be back on Sunday night, hopefully with another guest. We'll see. It was really nice to have a sort of have a foil tonight. I have to say, it was really, really cool. But until we do see you next week, have a great week, guys. Ciao, ciao.